This world is such a unique world, every decade you see the evolution of everybody basically just becoming somebody else. Like all these social experiments that are going on nowadays. Like, okay, I got it. You give homeless people money, but do you have to film it and broadcast it? And you're not doing it because you want to do it. You're doing it to become famous. You're doing it to get views. You're not doing it out of the goodness of your heart.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you are now about to witness
the journey that is the Lyfe Choyces podcast.
Yeah!
Thank you very much for coming by today. I appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I want to first start off talking about your tradition, your ritual for full moon.
Mm-hmm.
I've come into contact with a couple other people, Jennifer Alley, who's been on the show, and at this point, since this is airing midsummer, a friend of mine, Gina, also very much into the full moon and all that entails.
Got a couple moon children out there, huh?
Yeah, it's really cool though, because the conversations with these people are so helpful to me and educational at the same time, because I get to find out what other people do during these particular times of the year. Now, you mentioned in an episode long ago that you had a ritual that at the full moon you would actually burn some things to let go of them.
I do. Yep.
And you're still doing that?
I still do it.
I mean, how much stuff do you have?
It's not a lot. It's usually, there's a full moon every month, right?
Right.
So through that month, as I'm diarying every night, or sometimes I miss a day or two where I don't write something, but in general, I try to like put down my thoughts and feelings and stuff. And sometimes they're negative, right? And sometimes they're pretty like I've had a bad day or whatever, and I just unload on that piece of paper. And it could be 3 or 4 or 5 sheets long. But then you multiply that times the month, you got a little stack of papers, and yeah, basically I just go through my notebooks, and a lot of times when I write a bad day, I fold the corner so I don't have to like flip through and reread everything. I know it was, and I just rip the negative stuff out, and then that's the stuff that I burn.
I love it.
Yeah. I kind of just let it into the air.
Right. So you write it down first to let it out of your mind, so
Yeah.
you're able to
Yep.
rest easy, and then once a month you take all of that negativity that you've expelled and let it go in a ritual form.
That's it. Yep. Just kind of have my thoughts and prayers, so to speak, and meditate a little bit, let all that energy go. And then I keep the positive energy in the notebooks. And sometimes I refer back to those. Sometimes I have some great stuff that I just try to remember what happened that day, and I'll go back and read that stuff, but I don't have the negative stuff adding on to it. Now I always remember what happened, negatively, but it's just nice to get it out after you've vented. It's like, all right, letting it go now.
I had a conversation with my mother early March when I went home for a visit, because she's having trouble sleeping, like falling asleep. She's
Right.
75 years old and has certain medications that I tend to get upset at the fact that people of her age are so addicted to the medicines given to them by the people in the white coats.
Sure.
It's not looked at as bad as, say, a drug addicted person to heroin who's going to their on the street dealer.
Right.
But the way it's expressed is, oh, I need my pill. I get mad if they're not available on the weekend if I run out and I need it to sleep. And I'm just like in my head. And to her, I expressed, well, that means you're addicted to said pill, and we need to switch that up. So I had a lovely and absolutely wonderful conversation with my mother, and I'm so very grateful that she's still around at 75, and I'm living my life as if I'm going to have my mom around for the next 20 years.
Right.
And that's the way I look at it. So I was like, okay, Mom, this is what we need to do. The writing of things down.
Right.
And I told her, like, if you're in bed and you cannot fall asleep because you do not have said medicine, why not write down every single thing that's in your head? And while you're writing it, say it out loud. And it can be anything. I told her it could be, I had a great day today walking my dog. I felt a little unbalanced today and that bothered me. I'm so grateful that my grandchildren called me. Like anything and everything, just so you can, positive and negative, get it out so that your mind can be a little more relaxed, and in hopes you can fall asleep.
Mhm.
Now, we talked real briefly. You said you had been going through some rough health situations with
My
your
parents, yeah,
parents, and
yeah.
they're of what age?
So it's interesting you said your mom's 75 because my mom is 76,
Okay,
and my dad is 86. So last year around February, my dad had some issues, and by July or August, we had to move him into assisted living. Then my mom, around September, hit some health, situations, and then in October till about 2 weeks ago, so 5 months, she basically was in and out of hospitals and all that stuff, never really going home. So she would go to a rehab, back to a hospital, from the hospital to the rehab, another episode, back to the hospital, things like that. And she just had multiple things going on. But she did, like you just said, she got addicted because when in her last rehab before she went home, I mean, she was calling my little brother and I quite often saying that, she can't get this pill, she can't get that, she can't fall asleep at night. She's pushing her button, they won't give it to her, but she's already had one, and she wants another one. She just wants to be comatose, basically. I mean, it was a rough time for her, it was a rough stint for her. And my mom is a very strong woman. And, you know, her sons, me and my brothers and I, we many times had very direct, conversations with her mom, which was hard, but telling her like, "Hey, if this was us in this bed, this is what you would be doing to us." You'd be forcing food down our throat. You'd be making sure we're doing the PT and stuff. And we kind of had to do that with her so that she could start to build that individual sort of, strength again. And she fought, and now she's back at her house and she's doing real well.
she's
So
good.
yeah,
It's interesting, the women from that generation, what they went through as wives, as mothers, obviously way different than 2024. How independent, even whether they're married or not, they're very independent and very stubborn,
very stubborn.
and they admit it.
Yeah.
Like my mother
Oh,
admits
for
that
sure
she's
she
very
did.
stubborn in
Yep.
her ways, and it's interesting to me because that direct conversation with my mother is so important, I think, for people of our age, because we're at that point where, our parents, unfortunately, are at an age where it's, how much time is really left. And we would like them to be around for a very, very long time because
Yeah.
we don't want to lose our parent,
Does your
right?
mom
Like,
live here or?
no, she's in Canada.
Okay.
So I
So
go home when I can, and both my brothers are within like a 15-20 minute drive from her. So I had the same conversation with her when it came to, like, she's after my dad died, we've moved her like 3 or 4 times within the condo down to a one-bedroom that I can afford
mhm,
for her to live without having her life to change too much. But we had the most adult conversation I think I've ever had with my mom, where I said, I know you would love this to be your last place that you live by yourself because you're independent and you want to live here. But I said, the reality of it is, if we don't change certain things, and it's not a bad thing,
right.
people of your age eventually get assisted living. Whether I find another apartment that I can have someone move in with you,
Yeah.
or I hire someone that comes by from 8 in the morning to 9 at night, so you have a human being with you at all times, because you have fallen,
Mhm,
you have tripped over your dog,
mhm.
you've gotten your hip replaced. Right now you're fine with cooking, but it's not unheard of that an elderly person leaves a stove on with a cloth near it and shit happens.
Yep.
I don't want shit to happen.
Yep.
So I could tell that she was the part of the person is stubborn, and doesn't want to hear that they can't be by themselves anymore.
Right.
But if we don't exercise, if we don't meditate, if we don't do all these things that we do every day, that's the result. The thing for me is, you and I and many people that have been on the podcast live lives of practices that it allows us to live happier, live physically and mentally better.
Mhm.
So we had a wonderful talk, and I told her, like, I want you to have a routine, because for me, if I don't have a routine, my day, my week it's really fucked up,
Mhm.
basically, right? So I was like, if you want to be tired at the end of the day so you can fall asleep with less help from a drug, or less help from a drug that's been chemically made,
Right.
you need to be tired by the end of the day.
Mhm.
So we wrote a whole routine of things that she likes to do, like playing Maj with her girlfriends, walking the dog, painting, baking.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, well, we're gonna do this like 3 times a week, 5 times a week. and then she has a woman in the building, younger than her, that, does chair exercises.
Okay.
And I said, "Okay." And she's like, "This lady will give me two days, 1 hour a day, of free." I said, "Wonderful. I want you to get to 5 days because 2 days is great, but it's not enough.
Right.
But at first, do the 2 days for free, and after, like, 3 weeks of doing it, find out how much it would cost for 3 more one-hour sessions."
Sure.
And my mom, I love my mom. She's like, "Oh, but I don't want you to have to pay more money for me." I'm like, "Mom, me paying a couple $100 more a month
Right.
for you to live
To be
and be
happy. Yeah.
available
Yeah.
with me
Yep.
for 20 more
To be
years."
healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, like, for Christ's sakes, like,
I think it hits you and I, people that live away from their families. Like my brother does live up there, so he deals with the brunt of everything.
absolutely.
Um, Being down here in the job where I travel all the time, I could be in a different state or a different country. So it's hard, like, try to get up there as much as I can because you only have these small windows and you only have so many more of those windows left of their time, you know? If they can go another 10 years, if my mom makes it to 86, for example, or if my dad makes it to 90, he's 86, 4 more years. If I get up there twice a year, that's only a handful of times. I actually last year went through a little bit of an emotional thing of should I move back up here
Mm,
so I could be, and I could work from there with Robert. I can work anywhere in the states and trap because I travel. There's no restaurant here that I work from, so um, but I just don't want to deal with the winters.
dude, Toronto, Canada.
I mean, look at today outside. It's
It's hot as
absolutely
fuck out already,
yeah,
10
but it's
AM.
86, 87, yeah, at
Yeah.
10 AM in the morning, but it's stunning outside. Like the
I
sun is shining. It's
and again, we're filming in March, even though this is being posted in, like, July
right.
or August.
Yeah, March.
Yeah, when I was home in March, it was rainy, it
Yeah.
was miserable, like, well, it was just not what I want,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I talked to my mom in a way, and I expressed her about living a life of an attitude of gratitude and speaking of things like as if you already have it. And I talked to her the same way I talk to everyone about life choices, which is where this is going to go in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. I'm
Mhm,
like, Mom, it's going to blow up one day and I'm going to be having to go on talk shows. I'm going to have
mhm,
to go on talking engagements. And I like part of the package when someone calls me and says, "Hey, we want you on the whatever show," I'll be like, "Absolutely. But you gotta send a flight, a round trip ticket for my mom because I want my mom in the front row.
mhm.
And in order for me to have you in the front row, I need you to be physically and mentally
To be able
healthy.
to get there, yeah.
So let's get going on a more positive outlook on life."
Yeah.
So and again, now I have to take the accountability on myself to call even more regularly, not just 2, 3 times a week, but now it's like, okay, well, I'm going to call every day.
Mhm.
And even if it's for a 3-minute phone call, say, "Hey mom, did you accomplish things on your list today?"
Right.
Awesome.
What
So
you get
did
done.
I.
Right.
So did I. This is what I got done on my list.
Right.
And there's a book, it's like, it's a journal, but it kinda breaks it down for you how to, like, manifest
Sure.
and journal and gratitude and stuff like that. So I'm gonna buy, well, at this point, I've bought 2 copies, sent her one and me one, and then, every day we just kinda call
Work
each
from that.
other and just kinda like, "Hey, did you do
That's
the
cool.
work?"
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't I want her for 20 years. I'm
See,
being
I
selfish.
have the regular conversations. I don't go through "What'd you get done today, mom?" type of
Yeah.
things, or, I'm always asking, like, "How are things? What's going on?" And she'll tell me what she wants to tell me. She tells me only the good stuff, I think.
Mm, mm.
But then she asked me the same thing, "What's happening down there? What's the next job?" And we talk about it. But I'm the same with you. If I'm ever to get a certain level of entertainment where I'm out on
Notoriety.
my own, yeah, I want mom and dad sitting in that front row as much
Absolutely.
as they can. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be every time. It could be a season or whatever, but I want to see them down there. I want them to go from spot to spot to spot.
Yeah.
Robert does that with his mom. She comes over for a few months at a time, and she just literally is on the road with him, and she's in her 80s,
Love it.
and it's just amazing to watch her. And she's going through her ailments as well,
Mm.
but she loves being with her son and his family. Sometimes the daughters are around. They're all professionals now. They're in their 20s and graduated college, but prior to that, they were kinda on the road here and there with us when they could. But the whole team has gotten to know his mom as if she's one of our moms.
Absolutely.
So, we all look forward to seeing her there, and I'd like that for my mom,
It
just
would
like
be
you would.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would just be so great. And so my dad passed 7, almost 8 years ago. And so when I was at home with my brothers, but sitting and listening to each one of my brothers separately with where they're at right now in life. And even though you have your brothers, right? And you
Yeah.
have your siblings and you know of them and you know what they do, but like it's not as often as people think that they sit down and have a real heart-to-heart conversation to find out where are you? Like,
Yeah,
where are you at right now? Like, what is your game plan?
yeah,
Like, because oh, they're married, they have kids, they have jobs, they own businesses, and you're like, "Okay, they're good."
yeah,
But, like, are they? Like, what is going on there?
right.
And because I'm very in touch with my emotions and I very much express things to my father even though he's passed, after having these 2 conversations with my brothers separately, I realized that my father and my mother did such a great fucking job at what they did bringing up their family because each one of their sons is going after something in their own way to help other people.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
And it hit me like a ton of bricks in both the conversations, and I'm just like, there was, one night I went to bed when I was in Toronto, and I was like, "Dad, you should be so fucking proud. All of your sons are going after something that is so not what is success,
mhm,
but they are all successful at it."
that's great.
How are you with your siblings?
I'm good. My dad was, that guy that went to work, came home, sat in the lazy boy. Mom had dinner ready, picked us up from school. We all ate together. Then we did homework. He watched TV and she cleaned the kitchen. Like
I mean, it's the exact same household.
my brothers and I always had a competitive relationship, like in school. My older brother's 2 years older than me. And then Jared, who is the youngest, is probably, I think, 5 years younger than me. So we're still pretty close in age. My older brother and I were competitive. My two little brothers were competitive with each other. Myself and the one that's next down, we didn't seem to be competitive, right? We had our own other objective with the other brother. When I talk to them, it is a very cold, "How you doing?" Whatever. We don't really ever get into the nitty-gritty, except for, like, Jason and I. We're the 2 middles. We're the ones that were never competitive when we were younger. I go to his house the most and spend time with him and his family, but he and I can have good open conversations. But he does have an emotional part about him where he can talk, like, "This is going on. I've had these health issues." Like, he can actually open up a little bit. My other 2 brothers, unless it's serious, they might say something, but otherwise, they stay kinda quiet. So and in return, I don't really say much about myself to them, you
Right.
know? They
Yeah.
don't need to know my ailments. I don't wanna be the one that's always complaining, if they're not gonna share either, so,
TJ, has 3 brothers, and he's the 3rd of 4,
okay,
and he has a wonderful relationship with each one of them individually, and I mean, he calls them regularly, like daily.
yeah,
Like two of them live in the same city-ish as him, and one lives back home. And countless times I'm in the truck when we're going around doing stuff, and he's got Anthony on the phone, and they're just being brothers, just chatting
it's
and
cool.
bullshitting and whatnot. And I love it, and I take inspiration from that, and I try at times to put more effort into calling my brothers. But it's the same thing. Like
Yeah,
my two brothers and I, we have all lived together. Me with each one of them separately, and then all of us together and over the years, yeah, like there's lots of times where there'll be like months where there's no text, there's no phone call.
yeah,
Eh, But then when I go home, I'm present with them and I try because I really do love spending time with them. But when I get that one-on-one time with them, it's almost like when we're visibly together, we get a bit more depth about stuff because,
yeah,
like, they both know that I'm a fucking with them at least, I'll tell them anything they wanna know about life and what I'm
same
going
here.
through and what I'm
Yep.
doing, but it's
You
not
ask, I'll
like
unload.
yeah, but it's not like I go out of my way, like, to share on a daily basis,
Right,
which is strange because 'cause they're my brothers,
right.
you know what I mean? Like, I live with them outside of my parents' house, but that's life. Not everyone has the same situation, but push comes to shove, they're family, and there's nothing you wouldn't do to help them.
I always tell people I don't live like 2.5 Men, that TV show.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't live with like, I'm not we're not in each other's faces. We're not sharing our issues and going through stuff like that. So, I mean, I have a great relationship with my brothers. I love them all. They love me, good, strong family. But I think we all choose to kind of be individual and keep our stuff to ourselves and not unload it onto the other person.
Speaking about, like, opening up to brothers and family, how have you been?
I've been good. Last year was a hard year with family and traveling and working and being away and only being there when I could be there. Um, but in general, I just, I take a little time to myself every day and complete the tasks that I need to do and then enjoy a little time for myself. I don't have that mentality of, oh, I need a vacation because I've been working so hard. every day I take a little time for myself. So I probably haven't taken a real vacation in 10 years, you know? I'll go on trips, most of them are work trips, right? So I get to enjoy a little bit of something from work, you know? But I've never really taken like 10 days and said, I'm going there, you know? And I used to do that a lot prior. My ex-wife and I, we used to travel and we enjoyed Bali and Indonesia and different places like that. We would do chunks at a time. That's back when I was with Four Seasons too, so I got to enjoy the luxury hotels when
Nice.
when I was traveling. Um, but nowadays, no, like I'll try to do small trips here and there, but if as long as I have my daily self, care and all that stuff, I'm fine. Like I don't need a lot of things going on around me. Focus on my job and
Well,
you know,
we both have jobs that we thoroughly enjoy that we're doing them, and when we are doing them, we're usually somewhere different than
yeah,
home. So
yeah,
you kind of have that. Oh, vacation is like, oh, I'm doing nothing today. But for me,
yeah,
I rather do something,
yeah,
and if I'm somewhere different, that's a bonus.
yeah.
Would you say that you are living the reality that you desired to build?
I would say yes on a lower scale. I don't think I've quite gotten to the point that I thought I would be at. I am, in my 50s now, early 50s. I thought I would have a little bit more going on. 20 years ago, social media, influencers was not even a subject, right?
Right.
Now to see all that stuff, I actually have a desire like to do those things, but to put time and energy into that and be consistent with what I do, it's just not a reality just yet. But the things that we do on our team with the military and everything else, I don't want to leave that. Like, that fulfills a lot of my soul and my heart, and I'm still fulfilling a lot of those things in me to be able to share and give back and be with those people that, support our freedoms and all that stuff. So, that's something I never thought I would have. No, we spend half the year with the military, and I never thought to this level I would have that much impact on a lot of these people. So, I love that. So, I'm still enjoying that, but, this next decade is gonna be a lot for me. I'll make some changes along the way, and as Robert changes his brands and companies, I'll also adjust mine. And he and I actually have more conversations than I do with my brothers,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and we are, yes, he's my employer, but we're also best of friends. He's like that with our whole team. Like everybody has their one-on-one time and their personal time with him. He knows your family. We know his family. We know health issues of his, he knows health issues of our, like, we're very, like, outspoken with each other. We always know what's going on, and it's because we are on the road. You're away from your home, your family, your doctors, and all that stuff. We know what's going, we know what to look for with each other if somebody's not feeling good or whatever. Like, "Oh, he's got this condition. Let's make sure, he gets his rest," and all that stuff, or me.
You say that you're not fully living the reality that you thought you would because you haven't gone off on your own yet, but at the same time, you're saying that your cup runneth over because of the fact of what you get to do with the amazing human being that Robert Irvine is. You get to fulfill parts of your life that you wouldn't have been able to do possibly on
Absolutely.
your own.
Yeah.
So because it's so important to you, I would say you probably are living the life that you wanted.
To an extent, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm living a life that I guess if you say, like, didn't know exactly what to expect, but to be able to have something that you're proud of, like, yeah, I'm at that point, I love my life, I love my job. I don't work for money, obviously in this economy and this social, environment, we have to make money, we have to live, we have to buy food and all sorts of stuff, and it's tough out there, but I've never chased money. I've only chased, like, happiness, right? And listen, there's been times in this industry where I haven't been happy. It's a hard industry, it. There's times you question why you're doing it. You're beat up, and um, but at the end of the day, like, as some time goes by, you get back into that why you're cooking. Why for me, it's about, listen. I was chasing stars and diamonds and Michelins and all that stuff, 20 years ago. That was the goal. Those all have changed, I think, over time. The Michelin star back in my days is not what it is today, my opinion. Still high quality restaurants, don't get me wrong, but much more strict back then, and they were almost impossible to get. Now they give them out,
Not
like,
just possible to get, it was even harder to hold on
and
to.
hard, yeah, and chefs were committing suicide when they lost the Michelin, like, listen, a lot of the rich people out there spoiled it for me. Like, the way they treat staff or us or complain about things, and you put your best effort in.
I agree with you. have left jobs on yachts in short periods of time
Mhm.
because of the way in which an individual an individual of the family, whoever it might be, treated or acted a certain way towards me. And it was like, in my head, I was like, okay, the industry states someone of my longevity is valued at this dollar amount.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, if you're saying that, then you're if you're hiring me, you're saying that you value me this amount dollar value.
Right.
And I found that, like, time after time, it was just, like, a lot of bullshit, and I lost the love for cooking.
Mhm.
Like, I 100% did. I was just going through the motions of going to work, going shopping, making some food, putting it on a plate, and just kinda
Doing it to get
mundane.
it done, yeah.
That's it, and
Yeah.
getting my paycheck. And I was fortunate enough that, a year and a half ago, I guess you'd say, I ended up doing a freelance job for this one family. All I was myself. I cooked food just the way I always do, and, go out at the table after a meal and chit chat, and they just really enjoyed the food and the person.
Right.
And that freelance job snowballed into, a permanent situation where I got to know all of the family members. So they have 4 kids, Mr. and Mrs., and every one of them treats me with a level of respect that when they talk with me, they're not talking down to me, they're talking with me.
Right.
My opinions matter,
Mhm.
and the level of gratitude for the food that I give to them, which is in cuisines sometimes that I don't have a background in. I
Right.
just never cooked that style
Yeah.
before, but I was the willingness to learn their recipes and master them and then tweak them to kind of make them my own, but still give them the flavor that they like. Again, it was just this level of mutual respect
Mhm.
that, many conversations that I had when I was being offered opportunities with them, I would always say, like, sir, I absolutely adore your family. I'll make it work no matter what it is that, you want from me.
Mhm.
I'm there for you.
Right.
And it brought me back to that original love that I had for food when I was like 27 years old.
Yeah.
It changed my life on so many levels because knowing I had the confidence to cook whatever they may ask and delivering on that promise,
Right.
receiving such gratitude from them allowed me to see how fortunate I was to have another opportunity show up in front of me because I was looking for it. I
Mhm.
wasn't waiting for it. And when I was being given these small opportunities in the beginning, the freelance positions with them, I put as much heart and dedication into that as I do into the life choices. And both of those, the life choices and the cooking, just together just kept going up and up. And the cooking aspect of falling in love with it again made me realize the importance of hard work,
Mm.
of putting forth the effort above what someone may ask of you, just based on the fact that they're paying me a fuck ton of money to cook food, right? Like, we both get paid a lot of money to cook food,
Yeah.
a thing that every
That
human
every
being should know
person,
how to
right.
do, right? But we're given that opportunity. And it just made me start feeling really loved,
Mhm.
which in turn allowed me to love myself
Right.
even more,
Right.
which is where I'm at right now. I love the fact that I get to tell people that I'm so in love with who I've become and that every aspect of my life now, no matter what job I'm doing, I'm putting in that same amount of effort and passion across the board.
Right.
And everything just seems to come back to me like tenfold, which
That's
is
yeah.
so lovely.
I don't know, maybe it was in your 30s as well, but for me, the 30s were the hard part where, yeah, it was the corporate life, and again, Four Seasons has amazing chefs, amazing cooks, amazing front of the house teams, w excellent training there, but it was the customers a lot of times. It was the customers that just mistreated people, and everybody falls out of that, like, you're doing it for so long, and then all of a sudden you hit that bump in the road where you struggle, and then so I went through that for a while, but yeah, like I said, joining Robert, we were still doing the large events. We're still doing just produce, right? But then we get to do these smaller events where you can go a day or two early, take your time, work out of their homes, talk to the family, right? They come in and out, they're having their lunches and stuff, and they're grabbing stuff out of the refrigerator while you're prepping their big event for tomorrow night or in 2 nights. And but you get to, like, take the time and work with the product and work with the food, and feel the meat and feel the produce and peel things and cut things and, work on your skill sets. I fell back in love after that, and it wasn't because I was doing anything fine dining. Some of it was, but a lot of it was just simple, clean cooking and then putting it on the table and having their reaction. It's roasted chicken with mashed potatoes and asparagus, for example, but they want to know why the chicken is so, juicy and why is it full of flavor? Well, because I brined it and I did this with the brine. I'm doing these things and I sous vide, and, all that stuff. All these little things that just bring passion because you're taking care of that product and you enjoy it. I started enjoying cooking again. So people always ask me, "Do you cook at home or is this like?" No, I always cook at home. You know, I love going shopping and having my house full of fruits and veggies and proteins. I got a ton in my house right now. And I love grilling a steak and making some stuff at night and, just taking my time cooking. I don't need to order Uber Eats and all this, this junk that's out there anymore. It's
The
just
lazy convenience world that we live in.
it is. It's
Yeah.
it's all that, yeah. I don't know what's going on with some of these people inside their hearts. This world is such a unique world, every decade you see the evolution of everybody basically just becoming somebody else, like all these social experiments that are going on nowadays, like, okay, I got it. You give homeless people money, but do you have to film it and broadcast it? And you're not doing it because you want to do it. You're doing it to become famous. You're doing it to get views. You're not doing it out of the goodness of your heart. You know, um, it's just a different world. You know.
I love how you brought that up because we've I know it was you and I think in season one that had this conversation about people on social media, obviously have their cameras set up when they go do nice things for people, whether it's giving them a letter or giving a homeless person some food. And I felt the same way. It just seemed dirty. It seemed
Hmm.
gross.
Yeah.
So there's a young lady that's been on the show a few times, Gina, and we have some really, really deep conversations about life, about vibration, about energy. For a period of time, every time we talked, I always gave this example of when I'm in the gym, I have my earbuds in, and in between sets, I'll do a little, I'm just dancing, I'm just feeling my music,
Sure.
which not many people ever do,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because they're whatever. But
Right.
it's like if you're listening to music, you probably like to dance every now and again. So I just kind of do that for myself because I love it. I celebrate zero fucks giving, so I don't care what anyone people are looking at me. I'm doing it in hopes that other people will then find the confidence and the comfortability to do it themselves to the music they like.
Hmm.
And I expressed to her that we live in a time now where a lot of people have their earbud in. And you could be talking to someone and that's not weird.
Hmm.
You're not like, "Oh, that homeless person's talking to themselves."
Right.
So I said, like, whenever you feel like it, if you have your music on, just dance.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If you're walking, like if you ever drive from southern down past Flagler on the intercoastal, there's a good chance you'll see me walking my dog Sushi and I'll be dancing as I walk.
Yeah.
There's just a good chance of that because that's what I do. And I say, like, even talk out loud, like, talk to yourself,
Yeah.
auto suggestion, use whatever you need to do to get the shit out or just contemplate life. It doesn't matter. Like, just do you. And it was so funny because when I was home in Toronto, all of a sudden on social media while I was scrolling, I saw a lot of people, and again, it's set up, right? They have filmed people dancing on the streets, or they have collectively gathered people and said, "Hey, do this
Hmm.
dance, and I'm going to put it to this song," and it goes up. What I take from it is I live in my own reality.
Hmm.
I've created a reality that is exactly what I want. It's a lifestyle that I enjoy, and I take that as I'm trying to tell people to do this action on their own so that they can feel more comfortable within their own skin and not care about what people might think about them. And then it's my interpretation that the universe is showing me that people should be doing it.
Hmm.
So the information I'm giving people to help them live happier, other people are also doing it in a different way.
Yeah. I feel like our culture wants everybody to express themselves like that, but our culture also makes sure that you don't, right? At your jobs, wherever you go, there's rules, right? You can't be dancing, you can't be doing this, you're an ambassador of this brand or whatever. So you kind of get into this because that's most of your life, your job, right? Most people go to work more than they are at home. So when you get out there on your own, you're still robotic. They don't get out of that. They're not working any at that moment, but they're not living their true selves. There's many times, like, I'll walk, I don't think I dance walk,
Yeah.
you know? I'm not doing that, but, I definitely if it's a good tune on, I'm definitely, like, moving my head, and I'm moving a little quicker, when I'm doing something, because I like to walk almost every day. I'll go for a mile or so. Um, I'm still not losing any weight, but, as long as I can keep walking, I'm fine. Um, but when I'm in my car, in my truck, for sure, I get a good song going and, I'll be moving. I don't care if people are looking at me, it doesn't bother me. Excuse me.
I
But
I love it. I think the reaction for most people when they see you see a lot of people are so in their head, they're so worried about what people think of them, and they think that when
absolutely.
someone sees them, they
Yep.
stop
Yep.
because they think they're gonna be made fun of, when in reality, I think most people feel the energy that that person's doing, and they feel good,
Yeah.
almost jealous that they don't do it themselves,
Yeah.
and they look at that person like, "Wow, they're having fucking fun right now inside their own world." You can see through your emotions, the way you talk about food, the way you talk about what you do for a living, the traveling, the shows, how much you get back from it emotionally, mentally, physically, like everything just seems to just like glow
Right.
because of what you get to do on a regular basis,
Yeah.
which sounds like you have such great purpose
Yeah.
in what you do for a living
Absolutely. Yeah.
that I mean, do you
I
really
don't want
need
I
to
don't
do
wanna I
anything
don't wanna give it
else?
up,
Yeah,
you know? I don't wanna give it up and lose it,
right,
I know it's always there in one form or another, but I don't wanna lose it. I'm not just starting it, I'm 10 years doing this now, and it's so big in my life that to walk away from it, I'd have a small aspect of it, and to get it back on my own would be difficult. I know in due time, 2, 5, maybe 10 years at the most, by the time I'm 60, I have a feeling like I'll be a brand under Robert's brand.
right.
I think I'll have his support in a couple years. I have it now, but I definitely think in a couple years he'll be as I present what I want to do, and he knows a little bit of what my thoughts are. Um, I think he'll be like, okay, you do this. You don't need to do these things for me anymore. But when we do these military things, that's part of your passion as well. I want you there. And so schedule my new life around that and be 50-50 type of thing. And his corporate officer, um, Justin, who's this very, brilliant kid. He's in his mid to late 30s now. He's done well with Robert, developing Robert for the last 15 or so years. I mean, straight out of he went to Syracuse, if I remember correctly, but straight out of school, got on the sets with Mark Summers, which is from Double Dare. He was a production assistant at first, but then he was Robert's like assistant, like getting him his teas and stuff, right? When Robert first started filming. And I think after series one that he did of Dinner Impossible, which is the very first shows back in the day, Justin proposed him a business plan of growth and look what they've created,
An
and
empire.
a small team and a very focused team, and um, yeah, it's a massive brand now. So, and I would welcome. I know Justin does also kind of support some other celebrity chefs out there that are the B and C level and gets them a couple gigs here and there. But with Robert's blessing and stuff, if Robert said, "Hey, I need Darryl to start doing these things," Justin would book me, take his fair share as well. Maybe help groom me a little bit, but under the Robert brand, I would still be able to do the military and be part of that and give back to those who've let me live my life.
It clearly is above important to you to continue with that
Oh,
aspect
for
of
sure.
it because it doesn't sound like you would ever wanna let that go, and almost if you did something on your own, it would probably involve something of that as well,
Mhm.
but going on your own, you would have to start at the bottom, building that up to exactly what Robert's built up with the military, but
Right.
you would have something as well that you could call your own that still does the same thing and still work with Robert as long
Mhm.
as he's doing it.
Yep.
I'm really happy to hear that the, family health issues that you've been dealing with over the past year or so are better. I'm
Yeah,
glad that
thank
both
you.
your parents are
Yeah.
doing well, and I'm glad that we both, have the ability to have those conversations with our parents in hopes that they will do things for themselves that will allow us to have more time with them.
Yeah.
We could take some accountability and try a little harder to get over to them more often when the weather's nice,
Mhm.
because that is a selfishness on our part. I don't like going home in the winter months,
I mean, I
but
try to go with the holidays, which is the winter up there, but,
right. Yeah. But I
I
love
didn't
I
have to.
love the passion that you have for what you do. Every time you come on the show, you're always very expressive of how much gratitude you have for the opportunity you have with Robert and the fact that what you guys do together is just so purpose driven and fulfills you.
We have
Like
a
I
lot
love
of
that.
stress and a lot of things going on, but he is a leader that allows you to have a life the way I want to live, right? We can have massive workflows, and then I've been home now for a few days, and I got this week that I'll be home, and I'll be able to enjoy the ocean every day. I'll be able to do this, and I'll rejuvenate myself, and then I'll be back out, and I'll continue my practices wherever I go, but it's different when you're home. But Robert, one of the few things that Robert says when we're actually with groups talking about working for him or us working together, he'll go around the table to everybody on the team like, "What's your hobby? What's your hobby? What's your hobby?" But even to the people that aren't part of our team that we might be like socializing with, "You have a hobby? What do you like to do?" You know? His first and foremost is you need to have 2 hours a day for yourself. His is the gym. He loves the gym. That's where he goes. He goes with his wife. She's a professional athlete. They do their thing. That's how they feel good, right? Me, I go to the beach. That's Robert's thing. If you don't have that, what are you doing? Where's you? Where are you in this? You can't just work and go to sleep, you
Yeah,
know?
you have to enjoy a part of every day that you have
Yeah.
in order to be successful at what you do.
I'm 6 years younger than him, but I'll be honest, I've learned a lot from him in the last 10 years.
No
And
doubt.
maybe he's learned a few things from me,
Yeah.
but I've learned a lot from him, and it's amazing that the arrogance of the younger generation, 30 years old, whatever, they think they know everything, they should be in this position making 250,000, 300,000 a year.
We don't have enough time to talk about those
We
fuckers, let me
don't,
tell you.
we
But
don't.
we can get into that the next
I'd
session
love
for
to.
sure.
I would absolutely love
Okay,
to.
because yeah, I had a situation not too long ago where I had a sous chef, and
Let's bring a third person on that one. This would be a good little round to
man,
yeah.
oh, you, me, and my friend Sam, who's been
Yeah.
on the show
Oh,
before, would absolutely because we all in our own lives do regularly come in contact with those who are 30 and younger,
mhm,
and there is something to be said. Last thing on this topic is
yeah.
they think they have it so tough and so hard.
Oh my.
We didn't even have it tough and hard when you think about our parents and their parents who literally lived through the Great Depression,
Mhm,
did not have money for food.
right.
Okay. World War One, World War Two, where they went to school and had to have air raids like sirens to
Mhm,
test to
mhm,
make sure if something were to fucking happen, what do you do if the world's going to blow the fuck up?
yep,
That's having it hard.
yeah.
Having technology, having the luxury of not having to leave your house to do anything, that is not difficulties.
Few people in kitchens and they bitch about how hard it is for them, and I will literally point out the rationales and stuff like that. I'm like, "You see this? That didn't exist."
At all.
And working in kitchens was not a fun job back now it's like they're pristine. These kitchens are tech. I mean, everything's got a computer code on it, whatever. Everything's
The whole system is
like,
different.
you're not working hard.
No, you're not.
Sorry,
You're not. But they don't get that.
yeah,
But we're gonna dive into that later because that
yeah,
literally will
yeah.
be another hour
Yeah, they're so
conversation.
stressed from the 3. I had 8 dishes on my menu, and we're doing 3 to 500 covers a night, and I'm struggling to get through
Yeah.
every day. These guys have 2 or 3 dishes, and they're doing 100 covers, like, and
Yeah.
they're bitching about it,
And
and
not
it's
only that, they're in charge of like one element of each dish. They're
yeah,
not doing a whole fucking
come on,
plate.
like, stop.
Yeah. It
Oh,
was
that's
different.
yeah, for sure
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I always love hearing
It's
how
the
happy you
fastest
are.
hour of my life, I swear to God,
Right?
like,
Every time though.
every
Every
time,
time.
like
It's done in a second.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming by and chatting with me. Next
Glad you
time, we're
always invite,
absolutely going
yeah.
to get into that one topic of the youth of today and where they're at in the
Put it on the dry
kitchens.
erase board.
Yeah, done. But thank you so much for sharing with us, what you go through with your family
Yeah, appreciate
and
it.
where you are in your life and how you still have all of your practices that you do in order to keep yourself aligned, which is
Yeah.
super important to both of us.
Yeah, I'm working on, 2 books right now, so hopefully down the road
Ooh,
yeah, 1 for Robert, 1 for me.
okay.
Um, myself and the other chef, we design his books, his cookbooks, and, he influences it, tremendously, but he's a busy guy, so we do a lot of what we've already done, and we propose it and all that, but I'm working on 1, he doesn't know this, but, and then the second one is a kind of a follow-up to that one, but it's my book versus,
Awesome.
which piggybacks working for him. So basically his, and then mine's kind of like
The
the
follow
the
up.
back,
Yeah.
like
Well, that's all.
yeah,
Look forward to hearing
the
about
guy behind the
those.
guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, listen, I hope when they're ready, I can buy a copy from
Yeah,
you
for sure. Yeah,
because it would be a great
I'm
read.
I'm thinking another year, but
Yeah.
they're it's writing a book is not easy. Yeah,
Well, I look forward to seeing that in the future. I look forward to hearing about all your successes in life and where you do go over the next decade. I look forward to having you back here on the podcast as well because I thoroughly
anytime,
enjoy
man.
chatting with you.
Schedules are
So
tough, and thank you for being
yeah,
flexible. But
always, absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
I'm on the road just as much, well,
yeah,
not maybe as much, but I'm on the road at points where I'm gone for months.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it does make life a little challenging,
sure.
but it always seems to end up being successful
Yeah.
at the end of it.
Well, I always love coming here, so and I
Right.
appreciate the invite every time, and count me in
Wonderful,
as much as you
wonderful,
want to do it.
wonderful.
Bring the more, the merrier.
More the merrier. All right, everyone out there, thank you once again for coming by each and every week here on the Life Choices podcast. We'll see you next week, Tuesday at 2 p.m. Much love, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen.
You are now about
The Journey Life Choices podcast.